What's up, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the Fortnite Champion Series Grand Finals. It's your boy, Zeke. And joining us here on the analyst desk, we've got Sundown, we've got Shy Wager, and in a moment, we will have some games. If you missed out and you're watching from Party Royale, first of all, hello! Happy to be here with you. Don't forget to use your favorite emotes. Throw the grenades around, the tomatoes, the likes. Have a great time. Now, if you missed EU, though, we'll recap you very quickly. Tayson did find himself the Axe of Champions, walking away with the $80,000 and being crowned the FNCS champion over on the PC track. And Flame did the same over on the console track. So again, congrats to both players. But now, Sundown, we gear up as we prepare for NA East.
And NA East is what it's all about. The top 100 players battling to get to this point. They advanced yesterday by being top 25 in their heat, and now they're going to try and claim the Axe of Champions for what I would argue is one of the most competitive regions in Fortnite, just right behind EU.
Yeah, if you were thinking that there were hot personalities ready to just take everyone down on the map, NA East is even that much more competitive, in my opinion, when it comes to people battling for drop spots, battling for the, having that ego to be able to hold off their zone, basically, both early, middle, and end game. I'm just excited to see how this will break down and what happens in game number 1.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Very quickly, let's talk about the tournament itself, starting off with the tournament format. Now, yesterday we did come out of heats 1 through 4, and today we find ourselves in the grand finals. After 6 matches, one FNCS champion will be crowned, and as you guys have kind of stated, this is the very cream of the crop. Like, NA East is absolutely going to bring the fire. We do traditionally see a little bit of a slower start, but I think it'll pick up. What do you think, Sundown?
Generally, particularly in the first couple games, NA East versus Europe, NA East is a little bit more passive. You'll see the initial fights off of the drops where each one of those eliminations is worth 1 point, is capped at 20, but have yet to see that cap come into play. However, most people in NA East are going to be looking to buckle in and hit that first round of placement points at top 75 before anything, and really try and make sure they get at least to the half-in, half-out zone in the late game, because that's where they're going to prioritize.
Yeah, late game is where NA East is slightly different from every other region, because what I end up seeing every time is clutch plays. The guy who's supposed to win gets overturned in almost every single game, and the format is alluded to that every single time. People are going for eliminations. They're hiding out all the way till the top 10. That's when the points start to get serious, as Sundown mentioned, and it's all about that format. It's all about trying to win.
And the question is, what do they win for taking home that number 1 spot? $50,000, the clout that comes along with it, the title of FNCS champion, and the Axe of Champions that they will be able to hold for the remainder of the season till the next FNCS. A lot of prize money, though, still on the line for every single person who does and has made it this far. Now, of course, placing top 5 is where you'd like to aim, right, Sundown?
I mean, why not aim for top 1, Zeke? $50,000 in the Axe of Champions sounds great for me. But as you talked about, kind of, as you look in the bumps of the pay grades, top 5 definitely helping out there. Top 25, top 50, and top 100 will also have different ones we end up going through. But noticing how every placement in the top 10 is a change in payment, which means those late game moments in every single interaction is so incredibly close, as we've seen across the board.
Yeah, speaking across the board, here's a look at your finals prize pool across the board. We did see that $800,000 available up for EU earlier on in the day, or wherever your time zone might be, but now we are here in NA East. Every other region does, of course, have something to walk away with, but yeah, we're getting ready to hop into games. Very quickly, though, guys, I want to take a moment to talk about my favorite thing in the world, Batman. Genius comes in many forms. Whether you're dangerously funny, creating havoc with wild plans, or flooding the island with your best intentions, it often comes along with a companion, madness. Become everyone's nemesis with the Last Laugh bundle, featuring the Joker, Poison Ivy, Midas Rex, matching cosmetics, and 1,000 V-Bucks. You can pre-order the bundle through your favorite retailers, and it will be available on November 17th, so definitely check out the blog for all the details. And if you can't wait for more DC characters, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and my personal favorite Batman will be back in the item shop for a limited time, and get their cosmetic sets before they disappear into the night. And of course, as always, Joyride has hit the game, but we will not be seeing vehicles in competitive play, so don't expect to see anybody doing anything crazy with those. Now, guys, we have to shift gears here and start talking about NA East. What have we seen? We've seen 4 heats, we've seen 4 winners, and now we're going to be taking a look and diving into the 100 players that will be joining us here. There's a lot of big names here. People like World Cup champion Booga, for example, just to name one of the 100.
I mean, that's an easy one to name right off of the bat. We've talked about him so much, but let's talk about the person who's in first place there, Energy Clicks, one of the few remaining players, and I believe the only one out of NA East who has qualified for literally everything since the Solo World Cup. Every FNCS final, every single World Cup, both solo and duos, he's made it there. He's able to contest towards the top. But you also have some of that Latin American invasion with P-God and Jelty pushing their way up top, and they've been playing phenomenal recently.
Yeah, you're talking about old versus new people coming right through. Everyone still has that history, but now those histories are starting to clash, right? Looking at Nanolite as well, who's such a good solo player, but fell off a little bit after one of those DreamHack performances, is now starting to rise straight back up. Liquid Gabe is also a cool name to pick up from the get-go. NRG Ronaldo, another NRG player who's usually watching all the people play it out, is in the fray this time, looking for his own chances to win.
Yeah, you know, he'll still be screaming in that microphone regardless if he's playing or doing a viewing party, but you also have Calc, who took the #1 spot yesterday in his heat, coming out there, as well as Stretch pushing through here. Vanish, Bully, and Sid, some players who have also capitalized. Have the veteran Lunez picking up in there as well, somebody who's returned recently, been able to have a good performance. But you mentioned the new guard, and Pure Skittles has been among it with some amazing mid and late game runs and conversions that he's then turned over into just huge point performances.
Yeah, Skittles ended up winning out his qualifier day. After that, went straight through those heats. Past that, though, we have Crims, Frat, 2 guys who are really keen on playing and practicing with each other, now have to face off from opposite sides of the map. Glace, the Uzi Wins, Degen are some fan favorites who have these smaller communities but have such a push behind them to come and win. And if you're talking about communities, you cannot forget Colazzo, you can't forget Kaz, Kanada, these guys who are so keen on showing that they still have solo prowess. Their drops are good, their end game is good. And honestly, with all these names, I'm just not sure who really has the advantage here to win today.
Yeah, you can see the veteran reverse 2K on that board as well. And we flip over to the last page. Booga, Blake, Hypnos, Lem, who had a great performance that we saw yesterday. Zentil also picking up a dub in heat #3 there. Rox ended up with a phenomenal performance towards the back half, so should be running in on confidence. And also one quick little underlying storyline, just a little personal rivalry between teammates and to keep an eye on here. Calc and Macwood are contending back and forth to have the #1 amount of earnings between them when it comes to NA East online play. And they've kind of put it up. He's like, hey, by the way, today I'm taking back that spot because Zexrow, who is also in that top 3 and plays with them, is falling out. He's not here. He's not contending in the final. Didn't have a bandage to save him this time. Didn't get that clutch run that he really needed. And these two are going to be competing back and forth to try and dethrone each other. So when we mean every little interaction matters, that's what we talk about. Sometimes it's not about first. It's just about beating that person next to you.
Yeah, there's an overall format that we saw and broke down before, but then there are all these personal stories that we will be highlighting. The casters will be pointing out between so many players. There's 100, as you said, Zeke, and it's so much to kind of take in and take account for.
Yeah, for sure. And perhaps if you're new, watching for the first time, we've got 4 winners for you that have come out of the heats in the past. It could just be some very quick eyes to keep, you know, watching as we move through the games here. So Sundown, why don't I toss this over to you?
Yeah, so we're going to hop on board here. This is some of the recap of action that has gone through, and we're going to talk about some of the fan favorites and the one we've gone on. And let's go to 2 different sides of. So first, P-God, a.k.a. Peruvian God, who has probably the strongest presence when it comes to people in the chat. Can I get a Bible thump in the chat right now? Your favorite emote if you're watching in Party Royale for Mr. P-God, because we've seen his fans all over the place. And the thing is, he's been one of the few players in NA East who is able to enact consistent aggression. That means he's looking to take fights, and he's not afraid to trade out with players at all stages of the game. And you see a great late game run there, and that's something he does very well. He's not content to just get that one elimination and then box up. He's looking to chain them into more, and when he's able to do that successfully, it ends up on going on some of these crazy runs where you don't think that really shouldn't be possible, right? There's no way he should win this game, right, in this situation, and yet all of a sudden, vamos P-God.
Yeah, he literally gets his name into so many other people's sightlines and stories. Always say he's the man that plays with 20 item slots because he has so many eliminations per game. But on the other side of things, a man looking for control, stretch, is always one who has a game plan that he sticks to that works out. He's always dominating lobbies completely. And if P-God is looking for trades, Stretch is looking to end fights fast and make sure that every trade is absolutely silent. He always has an advantage when he's rolling into boxes, whether that's position or anything else, and he barely even takes any damage when he's going for these fights. If he's on the back end in late games too, he has a contingency plan. He has these hidden positions that he activates, that he just uses every time, and ace up his sleeve. And he gets these eliminations. He gets power weapons that he doesn't have to loot, just pick up, and then he ends up winning out games from that slot.
And one thing I want to note about in particular that we're starting to see from the very, very top players when it comes to closing out these games or being in these final situations is it's kind of a term, it's not really something we refer to a lot, but it's a no build skill. It's when you're out of builds, you don't have all that utility, and you're just stuck to your raw gun skill, movement, and what's on the map around you. And there's very few players who are able to kind of separate themselves and put themselves in a category where it's like, hey, you play really well in this circumstance. Stretch is 110% one of them. I would say Mongrel is another one who you can put in anytime he's out of builds. You don't really ever count him out of it.
There's a guy named Not Builds who's playing today, so maybe he is the mastermind behind this entire game strategy and plan. I hope that he brings that to fray. If he's an end game, maybe that's what's happening, but who knows?
Guys, as we get ready to hop into these games, I mean, what do you think we can expect? Now, out of EU, it was a long time. We thought it was all set. And then Tayson shows up, drops this massive game, and game 5, and then holds on. Do you guys think we could see that in NA East just based on the way they play? Do you think we're going to see a little bit of a change-up? Maybe someone comes out and then just, leaves everyone in the dust? What do you guys think? Sun, I'll start with you.
So we've kind of talked about how the pacing of a 6-game tournament plays out. After the first game, who's able to really separate themselves, or is it a couple players who got 5 and 6 eliminations and then someone was able to convert? Then you really can kind of tell the shape of the game, or the shape of the tournament itself after games number 2 and 3. And in Europe in particular, while we saw that there was a little bit of a lead, it was never more than 4 eliminations until Tayson capitalized. So what that means, in my opinion, is we're waiting for somebody to put a stamp on this tournament and then seeing how everyone else reacts. And I think NA East is ripe for that, particularly because it doesn't feel like there's been a definitive favorite to really step up to the plate and say, like, this is my region and I can drop that 10, 11, 12-point victory royale when it matters.
There is no definitive favorite. I agree with that, but I feel like there still is a pattern in NA East. You guys notice on the map, at the bottom side, there's these mountains. In the middle, it's natural low ground, and near the top, there's a lot of water. For NA East, I think it's the zones, and what zones we see repeated throughout these 6 games. There are certain players that are very good at winning out natural low ground consistently, like Calculator, right? BBG Calc. But there's other players too, when the zone starts to get high, Liquid Stretch, he's very good at taking games back to back to back, depending on where the map is going. If it's on their drop spot. If the Shockwave launcher is a little bit better when it comes to mountains versus natural low ground. So for NA East, I think it'll depend on where these end games actually end up ending.
Okay, all right. We'll have to see how things go. Let's take a look at some of the winners from the past. Now, kind of add to this and, kind of tie all of these things together. We've also seen those mythic weapons play a very big role in some of this. And over in OCE, we had the winner, Jinxie Fishy, holding down this title. 75 points, boys. I mean, Sundown, this is massive.
I think the bigger thing is the average placement going through for him, and then we flip on over there to see Fram number 1, 47 points. And the story in Asia was the 3-way tie at the top that got broken, not by victory royales, but the average eliminations, with Fram just barely edging over the top, just showing how close that region really was. Then over to Middle East, you have Cash Cup Warrior, aka ASMR Spire Frog, picking that one up there. 62 points, the victory royale, 15 eliminations, and an average placement just outside the top 20.
Yeah, I'm going to say that he needs to change his name to FNCS Winner or Warrior if he wants to, but really good run for him over there on the Middle East. For these three regions that we just saw the winners of, it was really, really close on all ends the whole time through, but we've been talking about it for Tayson. He was behind the pack the whole time. Winning out Europe was no easy feat. Comes through all the way from Game 5 and holds things up near the top. I think it was a 12 elimination finish that he had overall, and it was absolutely insane what he pulled off.
Man, guys, guess what time it is? Time to start things off here in NA East. So for now, let's send it over to our flight captains, Monster D-Face and Aussie Antics, as they prep us for our descent onto the island.
Thank you so very much, Zeke, and here we have it. It's all come down to this. It's the FNCS Grand Finals. Game number 1's just about to be on their way. Monster D-Face here, Aussie Antics. I am so excited for the games that are going to unfold. The roster is ridiculous.
It is absolutely stacked, and we're not going to hold it back any longer. We're going to jump straight into Game 1 of the NA East FNCS Solo Grand Finals. Monster, just how excited are you for this one?
Absolutely. I'm at peak. I'm at the pinnacle here, and it's the battle bus that is underway. And take a look. Here's the nice spread across the map, how your players are spreading across. Now, let's keep in mind, guys, after all is said and done, one player is going to take home that Axe of Champion. Only one player in the region will be able to wield it. And I'm already noticing that P-God over in Holly Hedges has someone contest, and I love that the camera shot was panning this way because this is going to be one of the most exciting players, one of the most exciting early gauge engagements that we are going to want to follow right now. How is P-God going to be able to perform today? Are we going to get the P-God that is going to go crazy every single game and carry it through? Or are we going to get the P-God that has to clutch up towards the tail ends to pick up the big points? That's going to be the name of the game for P-God today. But today, he is contested here by Chimp.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. He did so well in the qualifiers when he was contested, and yesterday when he wasn't, he did well but didn't do as well. So I'm not too worried for him here. When we're talking about Storm Surge, talking about these insanely stacked lobbies, sometimes being contested isn't so bad if you're someone as good as P-God at closing it out, which he starts off with a really nice 46 tag, waiting behind that bush. He knows this drop spot so well. He's had it on lockdown for weeks upon weeks. Gets the crash pad in. This is someone who has won a qualifying week from home. If you are just tuning in, you haven't been following NA East, so this is a very big engagement off the bat. If P-God goes down here, it would be a large upset to kick off NA East, and that's why we love NA East so much, Monster. It is always, every single fight is so important.
And you're noticing those chug splashes go off here, so P-God knows the player is already healed back up from the distance that he started. He's going to land a big charge pump shot to kick this off. It's going to go in his favor. Now looking for the control of the walls. And you have to think the enemy he's fighting is probably running out of builds here. This has been a bit drawn out for early game engagement. And yes, another big follow-up. Can he get one more? Oof, that was way closer than what it needed to be. But P-God with a single point to kick off the competition.
Yeah, it just shows the confidence. You love to see this out of P-God coming out game 1, not scared to take the fight. He set up for it. He wasn't over-aggressive. He was smart with how he engaged, but you knew he backed himself to win that one. And P-God putting himself on the board very early, and maybe that drop play might even change. They might not go Holly Hedges next game. We'll have to see as Avery gets into a fight here as well. Just down near the rig, down on the south side near Slurpee Swamps, gets the tax shots in and takes him down. Heater falling here to Avery, 1 point on the board as well. So we've already seen 2 of the 4 players going down here. So still staying pretty stacked, but we're getting the action.
Let's not forget, Avery has just been outside the top 10 on the week-to-week qualifiers, his best being 11th throughout the course of the competition and lead-up. So someone to keep your eye out on that maybe hasn't been at the top, but could be knocking on that door. We'll see. Spike, on the other hand, has a lot to prove here as well, as an up-and-comer on the scene, just rotating outside of retail row. Looking for the big snipe shot, going down range, not going to find it that time, but he's telling everyone he's well and aware and ready to do the do here. I'm looking at the map there. It looks like there's another player nearby. His loot's not looking too great. Yes, he's going to have to farm up and get situated here.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to maybe even try and find a pack of Marauders. Maybe very high chance of them spawning around here, being sent to map. Or can he land that sniper shot? He can. Zentil falls. I was just about to say Spike either has to land a hunting rifle shot or find some Marauders, because 2 chug splashes going into this part of the game where there's not much loot to offer, but there's a lot of loot to offer there from Zentil now.
Just like that, that's going to be 1 down. Another point swinging in the favor. Here's Cody from Team Timbers. We talk about these this Latin community, Hispanics stepping up to the plate, and Cody's got, oh my gosh, he's got the mythic loot. He's got the Caddy's Corner on lock here. All of Kit's mythic weapons and arsenal in his loadout, and the Vault key card to play with it. You can see, though, according to the mini-map there, they've rotated out, so Cody is off to a very, very dominant start. This is looking super favorable for him right now, as he's going to be able to gain access to the loot. Let's see what goodies are going to lie inside. You have to only assume that he's going to be completely capped off, and this might be a game that is going to go in his favor. Hold up now, though.
Yeah, last time we saw Cody coming out of caddy corners with all the loot, he did end up winning the game. And this is someone who's been dropping caddy corners every single game of every qualifier of everything he's played in. You see some people kind of testing the waters, knowing how strong that mythic loot is, but then wanting the consistency so they don't go back there. Cody has been dropping there the whole time. No one has more experience at this drop than Cody. And if you are tuning in from home and you tuned into the heats, there was a bit of drama around this drop spot, as Zayt did not qualify for grand finals because this drop was too heavily contested. So I think it would have been a big shake-up for Cody if Zay was in contention today, but Cody having it between him and one other player, he's got a very good chance to walk away with that loot consistently, so someone to 100% look out for.
I do agree, and here's a little info bit right there for you. Booga, Kaz, Stretch Crims, Kanata, Clicks, Calc have all competed in every single FNCS.
Wow.
And let's not forget, Booga's on fire yesterday, coming in 6th for his heat, coming out of NA East Heat number 4. So things were cooking for the champ here himself, and he's looking to continue his stride through solos, as is Cody. I mean, Cody came 3rd in his heats. I know we're just talking about him, but it just shows you we're looking at some of the hottest players on the market right now, hottest players on the scene here, and they're continuing to carry the torch. Let's see, though, Booga looking for some early tags. We know this is the thing about NA East. It is going to be packed, right? From the top to the bottom, every zone, we're going to expect loads and loads of players to stay alive. There are still 95 players in the game, Aussie, and the first zone is only halfway through closing. That means of all the fights so far, we've literally captured about 3 of them on broadcast. We are literally seeing all of the action right now because of how intense it is on the NA East region.
Yeah, NA East, they know how to play their games. They know how to play stacked lobbies, and we're going to see who can manage their Storm Surge. And that's why I was so excited to see P-God come out swinging, because a lot of people start off their first game a little bit scared, just maybe the nerves getting to them. They kind of want to play slow, play safe, just kind of play it easy. So P-God coming out swinging was big for him, and he's got his Storm Surge tags on the map, as Jaith kind of making a really nice little metal base for himself, has the mythic grappler gun as well. A lot of the conversation always kind of falling around Kit's mythic charged shotgun and shockwave launcher, but you really can't count the grappler gun out. See someone who's been performing really well with it. Unfortunately, I don't believe making finals here today, so Jaith got his hands on that one out of the 3 people that looks like they're dropping here, and he's going to have to find his tags, though. If they haven't fought down below, he also has no shotgun, so I'm not really sure how that's going to play out for him.
And I mean, he's pulling a cease here, nice and early, high in the sky here at the Authority, looking for those early tags to play into his favor. What I do like about Jaith in recent times, that he's just been on the up and up, consistently entering himself into tournament after tournament, Cash Cup after Cash Cup, even now qualifying for the grand finals here in the heats, and slowly but surely stepping his way up, stepping up his placements. So how is he going to perform on the largest setting, on the biggest stage here, on the biggest screen here, in front of all the community figures in the Fortnite scene here now? Though I'm speechless by Stretch, who has got me thrown off right now. He's in the center map, making a rotate for center zone, and he's around
good.
So many players.
He's got the loadout, though, as well. 4 floppers, something I'm not used to seeing Stretch have too much of. Dropping out a Misty Meadow, so maybe had the time with his zone being a little bit closer to kind of fish up. He didn't have a really strong performance yesterday in his heat, but we talked about it a lot on that broadcast. He got really, really unfortunate zones. All first 4 zones pulled north, and so that kind of caused a bit of issues for Stretch. The last 2 zones pulling south, I think he averaged almost a top 10 in those 2 games where he finally got good zones. So Stretch looking in a great position with that extra time that he will have. He's going to try and set up probably on the edge of this mountain. Needs to get a nice high position to go for some Storm Surge tags as well if he hasn't been fighting anyone already, as Booga holding him down, someone who's also been dropping Misty Meadows with him, hitting the rotate a little bit earlier. And we're talking about interactions, we're talking about those who's who of names here, and Booga and Stretch going head to head is going to be one of them. 2 players who have a lot of pressure on them to perform in their own right, but also to outperform each other. They were duo mates and they both performed insanely well, but there's always those whispers of who carried who's better. We saw Booga and Stretch going head to head in one of the qualifying weeks, where Stretch ended up just coming out on top in the final game, winning it over Booga. But this is a rivalry that I'm super excited to see play out.
That's right. And I mean, it's been about 4 months or so since they've entered as a duo into competition.
Yeah.
But the stigma carries with them as they do still play trios and other team-based game modes. So we'll be interesting to see the clash between those two titans. I mean, we saw Janice and Tayson fight one another over in the Steamy Stacks in EU today. And that was probably the biggest clash of Tayson's career because he took that to the Axe of Champions all the way down the line. P-God, oh my gosh, with the big follow-up onto Vibes. And that's going to be huge for him. His second elimination right now. 93 players left in the game.
Second elimination when there's 93 players left. So P-God has taken down 2 of the 7 players that are falling in this lobby. So you can't overstate how big that is. If you're more of a casual Fortnite fan, you're tuning in, this might seem a little bit ridiculous. The 2 eliminations is huge at this point. But as you can see in the top left, there's only 7 people that have gone down. These players are the best of the best, and they're avoiding fights. They're playing safe, trying to get into that top area for those placement points. And P-God just feeling comfortable. He's feeling confident, running around as we see Prickly Boy was a fan favorite of yesterday, rocking the cactus skin. I feel like the casters definitely instantly resonated with this player and wanted to cheer him on as well. As Prickly Boy trying to find his way out of this one if he can. He was throwing that big pot ahead of him, but this player was waiting for it, kind of choreographed exactly where he was going to go into this push. So Prickly Boy trying to close it out. Players on top of him. Nice builds, but he drops inside the box. 2 tack shots is not enough, and Justice takes him down. Don't think Justice even needed the shotgun there, and look at that loadout. Justice is looking great.
That's right. Justice read the law and laid it down just like that, showing that he was going to be the one to action the scene right now. And that was well played. He just walks through pure confidence through Prickly Boy, who couldn't seem to find the defense, seem to find the shots that he needed. Here's Sentinel's Aspect on the other side. One of the veterans of the Fortnite community scene for the NA East. And a part of the earliest days of Fortnite competition. Now, back on his stride, back on the high horse here as a solo competitor. It almost seems like he came out of nowhere in the recent times, just coming back, showing players that, hey, this vet here still has what it takes to compete on the grand final stage. Ladies and gentlemen at home, this is game number 1. If you are tuning in, we do appreciate it. That's going to be a big down there, though. Aussie, that was Cody.
That was Cody. I have to know who gets that loot because this elimination, while being important at one point, I need to know who gets that mythic loot because that is going to change the game massively. If you're not dropping caddy corners, but you end up with the caddy corner loot, like we saw with Calc yesterday, Calc dropped, I think it was an 8 elimination win or close to it because he got his hands on that caddy loot because he found it in the mid to end game. So whoever has now found that, as I say, Calc goes down to Colazo. So players dropping now as Storm Surge, I believe, is going active and we have 12 people to fall. But if we can get a sight on who exactly has that shockwave launcher, it could play massively into this end game if it's a big name who's been performing and not used to having the added advantage of 2 mythic items.
Take a look at this, though. It's P-God back in another skirmish here. I see 4 different players, 4 individuals stacked up on top of one another off of this rotate here from west to east, trying to get to the safety of the new zone. P-God yesterday did this as well. He was playing off of these non-dead side rotates. I mean, he's just walking directly to the zone and taking battles along the way. We saw that halfway through the competition. It worked against them. We'll see, though, but no, not this time. It doesn't matter. P-God's going to react with the quickness there onto Uzi. Uzi is an up-and-comer as of late. He has been on fire, but P-God shuts that out. He puts the fire out.
Shuts it out quick. That was such a good, quick flick with the charged shotgun, too. That's a hard shot. If you just watched and you missed what happened there, the other player crash padded straight into the back of the box. P-God didn't see the player coming through because the builds were breaking, and then just split-second reaction flicks with the beautiful charged shotgun shot. And P-God's now got 3 eliminations on the board coming into endgame with the peppers as well. So he's got that extra mobility to maybe make that next rotate. And you touched on it just then, Monster. He doesn't really exactly go for the safe rotates. He'll go up against players and back himself in fights just like that. And now he's getting his Storm Surge tags. He's getting his damage on the board as we still have Storm Surge active right now. There is still 1 player getting hit by Storm Surge in this lobby as 71 players are still alive.
I just want to say that is probably the 2nd or 3rd time we've seen a ridiculous shot like that come out of P-God. But here's Skittles finding himself a nice little ridiculous elim onto Avery, who was so lit up on the run from an opponent. And although Skittles may not be able to grab the rewards of Avery's loot there, it's going to be Rubified who's going to scoop that up. It's okay. He's got a nice free point to work with here. Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, 75 players being, or less than 75 players in the lobby now is going to reward the first points. Placement points are divvied out as players go down. And just like that, now Skittle has 2. So this is a Nice step in the right direction here. If the EU FNCS Grand Finals was any indicator, though, to how you want to play, how many points you want to average to take home a victory, you're going to need anywhere from 8 to about 10 around on average to be the FNCS champion of the region.
That is such a tall ask. 8 to 10 points every game for 6 games when you're battling now with 99 of the other best players in your region. Just showing these players are a whole nother level. 31 tag, nothing too heavy. That's clicks. NRG clicks falls. Someone who has a lot of pressure on them here today. A lot of expectations going down with 1 placement point on the board. Don't know if he got an elimination. We didn't see him in the feed, but just the unfortunate misplay there of going up against that wall that Justice does own, and he just has to hit that window edit and go straight through. Justice now knowing there's another player behind his other wall, so Justice in a really congested spot, as you're seeing in the bottom right of that mini-map about 6 or 7 players all on top of each other, and Bucky being one of them, so pretty scary spot to be in.
Bucky, one of the scariest players, one of the hottest profiles across all game modes. Doesn't matter where you place him, team-based, squad-based, solo-based, he performs, he shows up. Smack, though, is going to be lighting up the feed right now, find himself his own point. Here's D-Roller. D-Roller, one of those few key individuals that once he gets going, he can definitely start to play off of that momentum. We know him to be a fragger. I want to say during the FNCS Invitationals, he was breaking records on his streak on up to those grand finals as well. So this is a player that lately has been somewhat dormant, but it shows that, hey, when he turns on big, and he doesn't look back. Right now, though, Ozzy, what I'm paying attention to is this zone and how many players are starting to migrate nice and early. This is only becoming more and more stacked. So we bring our focus down to that mini-map. Just look at how many players have to cross in.
Yeah, and I was just going to say with D-Roller as well, it's just showing that he can kind of like, he can change the game style as well, though. Obviously, last in their solo invitational, there was a lot of high eliminations being dropped. At this point, we're seeing much more placement split, and it's showing his diversity to be able to play to that and play to the placement points and understanding that most of the players are usually kind of winning this one out with a higher average placement than elimination points overall. We saw some of the regions like Asia have a lot lower point split with a 3-way tie for 47, but then you're looking like regions like my hometown region, OCE, with 70 plus points for first. It's just, you don't know. You need to play to your region. You need to play to your scoring format. You need to play to what is going to give you consistency.
Yeah, it's been very volatile across all the regions. Someone who's on fire, though, it's P-God. My gosh, 3 eliminations already. We're not even halfway through the lobby. He's owning up to his name right now. Honestly, he has just been on top of everything. This new zone's going to be popping soon, though. We're going to see that half in, half out reveal itself, and he's already being so active. I wonder if he can just make an end game this time around. That is going to be momentous for him.
Would be momentous. He gets an opposite half, though. One of them, the zones you want to get the most. This is the full pull zone right now. So as you can see, that half zone going half in. He takes Renan's, though, but like you said, Monster, he likes to be around the action. He doesn't need to go on the safe side of zone. So this next rotate could be easy for him. He could pick up even more eliminations on the way, as Class is going to get that loot, but P-God is the one who gets the elimination. He needs to make a tough rotate now. He has the launch pad, he has 2 crash pads, but with these trees in the way, and with the way this zone's going, he's going to have to find a clearing to try and get that launch pad off, I imagine, because crash pads, he's probably going to get stuck in the trees, as Blake just sitting out in the cone looking really nice up here on the top side. He's going to have to start making his rotate as well. It's not as far as P-God, but it's still a pretty difficult zone, as we still haven't even gained our 2nd placement point of today. Top 50 is where these players will get 1 more point on the board. Blake having 1 for top 75. Needs to look back and try and hold some of these players that are using the rotation behind him, and then he's going to have to keep making his way through. Blake has been a dominant player for such a long time now, but hasn't had a big showing in a solos event, so really high expectations, or looking forward to seeing how he can pull this off today. But no medium ammo left in the AR, shotgun only, and a harpoon. He needs to find something pretty quickly.
I'm just looking at the feed right there. I saw Dubs pick up reverse 2K. Kanata's going to fall to hand here as Bucky falls to Blake. And that's 3 major names, major players, absolutely skilled individuals all falling in concession on this rotate here to the half in, half out. This is where things get interesting. This is where Fortnite really starts to shine as a competitive esport. Here it is. It's when things start to get intense and the zone starts to move. Here it is, though. Blake still being so active. The control throws the cone down, and I can't help but imagine that he's going to go ahead and conclude this one as well. The 2nd elimination for him now onto Haji here. End zone's going to pull his way.
Haji, a player who hasn't been so prominent in these games, but did manage to win a game in his heat to jump himself up there and qualify. Unfortunately, falling here at the hands of Blake, who had a great rotate. He was back against the wall. He had no AR ammo, and now he's got 2 huge refreshes in the half-half zone, so he's looking really, really good. Needs to try and kind of find some way to get back in this one a little bit more, as he's on the bottom side, but rotating zone is going to go back through the woods, through all that tree cover, so not sure if he's going to be able to find his way back down on the low ground, as Illust looking much better with 5 crash pads and 1 launch pad.
Here it is, though. The wide shot giving you guys who's in the game. I see Bully. I see Aspect still alive. Illus still alive as well. And Illus is going to be running right through Pose here, who's on the other side of the wall. He's going to go in and crash pad his way in. That's going to be a major impact frag. Impact elimination for Illus. That's going to recap, refresh his material count as well, as the entire lobby now is looking to scramble across here. But Illus is still firing up. He's going to catch Batch on the movement now as well. Great layer change, though. He's going to move himself up, setting up the teak pad to try and get out here. He's got the crash pad ready to go. He's thinking about it, though, still waiting his time. He doesn't have to do it too early. Not this time around, not until the zone actually pops itself. On high ground, though, Dubs is going to go ahead and lose it to someone launch padding up above. And Aussie, things are getting super interesting here. P-God is down to 20 HP. He cannot afford to play with the zone, but he's gathering placement points as this Cox keeps ticking.
He's got to make something happen. He knows the player's above him. He's trying to bait him to drop down and go for the shotgun shot.
No.
But no, that could be too long.
No.
But he waits. It is. He can't break through the full metal in time. Too much damage. He takes 2 10 ticks from zone, and he falls just outside top 30. A good game from P-God, those 7 points on the board, as we now have some of those players who are going to play for more consistency. I see NRG Ronaldo kind of making his way up a little bit here, making his way very high. Ronaldo trying to take the high ground, or at least get above this elevation, which is a good spot to be in. Asia's stuck down there on the low ground, though. He's going to have to keep playing for it. I want to see who has that shockwave launcher and who can actually really contest height, as Blake making a good push for it too. 23 points on the board. He's now inside that top 25. Those 2 refreshes were everything he needed to get him to this point, but he's gonna need another one soon, as he's down to 5 builds inside the full metal base. So he's in a good spot to try and find a refresh from, but he's gonna have to go soon. If this zone keeps going up, takes down Nanolight. Does take down Nanolight, a very consistent player here in this one. AJ falling in the feed as well, going down to the Storm as it pushes everyone up this big mountain.
That harpoon was so clutch to grab him all the materials he needed as well. Here it is. Polarized, though, has that shockwave launch. You wanted to know who had it, and it's him on height. And now he's looking to fight it out for his life, though. On the other side, Illa's still up there as well. And now we have Coop down on the low ground, really tearing it up. 4 eliminations for Coop. Someone's got him backed out against the Storm, though. He's got to take the fight. He's going to step in, and yes, he catches another one. That's going to be the 5th elimination now. He's still very much in the game. I'm seeing Ronaldo. I'm seeing Dubs still here. Blake's still alive. Jace fighting his way up the high ground as well.
Is coming down to this. 6 players alive right now. Big names. Who's who of this one? Blake trying to have a big performance here. 4 eliminations already on the board. Going up again. I have to think he has one of the better mat advantages right now. Only 23 builds, but this late in the game, when the zone is about to close out, that is very good, as Ronaldo having to skirt the Storm. Coop takes down Jaith. Ronaldo must have flop, as he does. Can he come back in? Can he make a play? Illust, Dubs. Blake putting the pressure down onto Dubs. He gets the elimination. 4 players left. Blake has the high ground. This could be his game. This could be everything to start off the tournament for Blake. He has all the advantages. It's a 1v1. It's Blake versus Illus. Can Blake close it out? Can he jump up and have the huge game 1 performance? Illus can't get up the hill.
No.
He can't get a footing.
Oh,
Blake
no.
has all the advantage. Blake has to win this one. Illus down in zone. All Blake has to do is wait this one out and just hold, and he's going to be the game 1 winner of the NA East FNCS Grand Finals. Blake takes it away with 6 eliminations and 20 points on the board.
He did that so textbook as well, just holding that height. He knew he had it once Illa slipped down the mountain. Hats off to Ronaldo, though, who got top 3 as well. What a big, big game for our competitors there coming into game number 1. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be sending it over to the boys at the analyst table to break it all down for us. That was a great game 1 and a great showing for the opening here at the FNCS Grand Finals, NA East.
Aussie Monster D-Face, you guys are the best flight captains in the world. What's going on, guys? It's me, Zeke. We're here with Sundown. We're going to be breaking down some of the action. I gotta say, Sundown, the old guard and NA East have all been falling, and it's very interesting specifically that we do see Blake picking up the victory round, because we saw this literally exact thing play out in Europe. You have 2 players walking into that final 1v1 with 5 eliminations. The one person that wins gets that 4-point swing to start the day.
And that ends up pushing him up to a 20-point first game, which if he's able to capitalize on, could be huge. But you talked about some of the old guard falling. However, towards the end there, you still had some of the old guard up as well. Blake's been around for a while. Ronaldo pushing towards the top, and Dubs also making it towards the end with Illis finally falling to Old Man Mountain. So you can see the scoreboard reflecting a little bit of that there. Blake in first right now, Illis in second, Coop in third, Colazzo, Han rounding out fourth and fifth. Hoofishy, Cozies, Skittles, and then Dubs and Ronaldo will be the top 10. But notice everyone 5th through 10th, even on 11 points, but the difference being the eliminations currently rocking out on the tiebreaker.
Absolutely. Now we're going to flip on over to the next page. And again, it's just more of these names. We're so used to seeing Jade, Polarized, Agers, Jack, Aspect, right? Jelty, P-God. I think ultimately, like, this first game, and we saw sort of happen in EU, it's like a general feeler, right? Like, you have 6 games to play. You know you're competing with the 100 best in your region. Now, what happens? Is my drop spot contested? What does my pathing look like? You know, there's so many, all these variables we have to keep in mind, especially as we move throughout these games. I feel like this first one's fine, right? Like, we have some points on the board. That's okay. Now what we have to look forward to is, like, where do these people land? How do they adjust to this new meta that's kind of self-contained to the grand finals? And what they need to do to ensure themselves making it into the top placement, as, I guess, as high up along the placement as possible.
Yeah, and the goal is to be able to convert off of this first game. So we kind of talked about in the intro of the show, what is the pacing of a 6-game tournament? And over the course of it, you really kind of want to get yourself established early, because whoever gets out to that lead is going to start running it. And if you fall before getting that first round of placement points, or even that second round of placement points, it can get really hard to establish yourself into a rhythm and get the game moved.
Absolutely, my man. Here we go. We're going to take a look at some of them. I mean, Calc, you know, he put on a show for us yesterday. He said, look, guys, I'm going to make some stuff happen, but couldn't get the footing you're talking about here in the first game.
Yeah, and the same thing happening to Boogie here is getting caught. And notice a common theme for all of these players. They're all on the edge of zone. They're rotating right around the timer with everyone else, and they're not establishing control over their space. But all of a sudden, all of these other names go down, and you get an opportunity to step up. And notice here how Blake had 0 mats. He had next to nothing there, next to nothing here again, and he's chaining together these impact eliminations. Those 3rd and 4th elims, if he doesn't get those, he doesn't turn this into a more. He doesn't create a victory royale. He doesn't have 20 points in the lead. But because he's able to get those elims and then had the harpoon to be able to get the loot and turned it into another one, he maintains the high ground control. And as the circle moves back over the course of the mountain, he gets the elimination onto Illist as well. And again, we go back to his first 2 eliminations. We talked about the 3rd and 4th ones being so key. He had nothing in those early ones as well. You saw his loadout and you saw his mats. He had to push forward and he had to find them. So all of a sudden we talk about how every one of those little interactions matter. He shows 6 different key ones, but particularly the first 4 changed the course of his game. And it wasn't a traditional route that we've seen in solos to a victory royale, but a very well executed one.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. These are the old guard we're talking about, right? They know how to play the game. They have the time. They have all of the hours dedicated to playing and having and kind of owning that mechanical prowess. And now it's just kind of falling back on that, right? And that's what led Blake to the win here. And I got to know, like, I think the biggest question for me is, like, look back at EU game 1, right? We see Flois comes out strong, same way, 20 points, then fizzles. Do we think that could happen here for Blake?
So that's been the story of a lot of what we've seen on broadcasts going through. It's really difficult for players to kind of convert right away. One, you immediately draw attention to you. Everyone else in the lobby is looking to see that name when you go down. They're going to try and probably hawk your drop spot in your route just a little bit extra, maybe see if they can't throw some shots over there, as we saw Kylix do to Tayson in match number 6 in Europe. If you're able to shut somebody down, then all of a sudden it's anybody's race. However, which we haven't seen in a while, is somebody be able to rack off those back-to-back games we saw in Europe just last week, and you're able to build out a substantial lead. However, today, I don't think just a lead is going to be enough. It's consistent, and then it's going to take one huge effort from somebody to separate them. And 6 elims of the victory royale, that's about average. Like we've said, it's around 18 to 20 points for a winner is what you can basically pencil in every time.
I mean, that's all it takes, right? Just a handful. And you said it best at the beginning of the show. It's like just being able to stamp your name there and say, look, it doesn't matter what's happening here. You guys are going to play the game I want to play because I know how to do this. I've been in situations like this in the past. That's why I'm here in the first place. And that's why we're all here in the first place. So I need to be able to make a statement and say, look, I'm going to be the winner. You're going to play my game. You're going to step away from me, and I'm going to just pull ahead. We have to see if that's what happens here for Blake. Very strong showing. Now, we do have 5 games left to go till we crown an FNCS champion. Now, with all that being said, Fortnite fan, we're ready to hop back into game, so let's send it over to our casters, Aussie and Monster D-Face, to get us into game number 2 on the day.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you, Sundown, for the great breakdowns and, of course, keeping us dialed in with the competition and the action here. It's game number 2 here at the NA East Grand Finals table. We're here to eat. We're here to see a lot go down right now. Aussie, take a look at this battle map. What's standing out to you right now? Because I'm looking at Sweaty Sands, and I see 4 players contesting it already.
Yeah, 4 players, Sweaty Sands. I'm seeing 3 players at Yacht as well as looking a bit hefty. So trying to look for those places that are a little bit congested. Obviously, coming into Grand Finals, these players knew where everyone was dropping. They quite often know a lot of these big names have their drop spots that everyone knows they go to, but it's looking still pretty spread out. We got 3 at Authority, not too many at Caddy. That 2 at Caddy is looking so good to me. Both those players in such a good position. And I was going to comment last game, I was talking about who ends up with the Caddy launcher. Is it someone who's not used to having it? And it was Polarized. Polarized has been going Caddy, so I have to think that Polarized managed to hunt down Cody and take him out with the Caddy loot and get it back into his own hands. We didn't get to see it, so I'm not 100% sure, but we see Blake over here at Pleasant, which means he's also near Clicks, so I'm happy to imagine that other player here is the big Clicks. So Clicks has been playing a lot smarter recently, but if you're going anywhere right now and you're going to have to try and take an early fight, it's not going to want to be with Clicks.
Yeah, just to answer the question, it was just a weird cross of fate between Aspect finding Cody on the storm line and then Polarized picking it up at that exact moment when he went down.
Yeah.
We'll see how Caddy's launcher plays its factor into this game here. On the other hand, though, we have a battle breaking out, and there's a big group of Marauders on the bridge looking to play spoiler here, part of this fight. You can hear the shots going off. They're just ringing. I think they have the focus on the player on the run right now.
Oh,
and yes, Prickly Boy's looking for the big shot. No, he's not going to find it. Oh my gosh, those are some great AR follow-ups.
Those are some really good AR follows with a gray burst rifle. That's a hard weapon to do that much damage with. 20 damage a bullet, but it shoots 2 at a time. It's very hard to connect 2 shots back to back with it as well. Doesn't have that extra scope on it like the epic and legendary variants do, as Prickly Boy is really pushing this one. He is going aggressive. He has 0 points on the board. We saw him go down last game. He wants to try and prove us wrong, show that he can win these fights as he drops in here, and no, never mind.
Ooh.
He's going to show us that he's going to lose again, unfortunately. Prickly Boy, fan favorite. I'm cheering him on, but he goes down to Nobu Tragics, who is on 8 points, having a much better day today.
Absolutely. Great defense. Plays that quick reverse card. He says, not me. It's going to be you who gets taken out this time around. And that was against all odds. Let's not forget, he was hit for white damage. No shield in that battle. On Frenzy Farms, though, outside of Risky Reels, it looks like we have a little bit of an engagement going down. It's Bucky. We saw Bucky go down before, and oh my gosh, he's going to make quick work of Simple with the better angle there on the battle. You can see 31 of the current players also competed in the FNCS Invitational Finals. That was the most recent major solo competition hosted by Epic, the official Fortnite competition that has most recently occurred. So 31 players cross over into the grand finals this time around. That is ridiculous. That is so consistent.
Yeah, in what is one of the hardest formats to be consistent. We've seen it already today. One hunting rifle shot, just one mistake can end everything. Trios, at least if your teammates can back you up, maybe they can get the revive off. You kind of have a chance to go ahead with it. But solos, it's very hard to be that consistent. But some of these players make it look easy. You've got Kanata in here, you've got Stretch, you've got Booger, you've got Dubs, you've got players who have been at the top of their solo game since even before World Cup. We talked about how Aspect's even back here today. So there's definitely players who can kind of find their groove and find their rhythm. As Illest, one of them, takes the hunting rifle shot onto Tabs. Illest has a really good loadout to go aggressive if he wants to. Doesn't see the crash pads above him, but he has the pepper going, has the legendary compact SMG, something we haven't seen too much, but this loadout's one that, I kind of leaned for in a non-stack lobby, trying to just, go super aggressive. You have the hunting rifle to get a long-range shot. You've got the SMG for close-range damage, but I feel like Illest probably going to have to try and get his hands on some kind of an assault rifle just to get those Storm Surge tags.
I mean, we've seen it all. I saw earlier today Tomas HD running a tactical shotgun and just a sniper with movement and double heals. So it's up to the player's preference, I guess. In this case, he's going to run that compact. I can only assume that he's going to be putting that controller to use and probably looking to box dive into some players. And just talking about that, I mean, players like Furious did not qual through. So Lazy Lakes now being, or not having the FNCS Invitationals champ in the game right now. It's pretty big for him. On your side, though, you do see the format and how it's going to play out, guys. Just that placement, 14 points for the Victory Royale. And placement starts being divvied out at 75th place. But you don't get your second until top 50. We can see how much of a struggle it is to even make it that far.
Yeah, and that's what you're talking about. That's what you normally look at when you're looking at kind of a point, you're looking at a placement format. It's because 14 eliminations is what you need to equal a win. That is ridiculous. You got to think how hard it is to drop 14 eliminations on the best of the best players in your region when there's so many eyes on you. There's 94 people alive. There's only 5 that have gone down so far this game. So really looking for those big placement points. If you can be like P-God and pick up some early eliminations, that's great, but he didn't get the placement as Illest. Doesn't see this player who's lurking coming into Lazy Lake. I don't think Qua has dropped here. I think he's rotated through, but Illest having none of it. Like you said, trying to put that legendary compact SMG to use as Qua's now stuck in an awkward spot. You can't build here because of the half walls. They're skirting them. Illest jumping up and getting shots. Qua just looks like he's reeling, just can't kind of recover from that positioning. And that's all it takes. I talked about it in solos. He just mispositions, takes a fight up against the half wall where he can't build, and that's enough for him to lose it. He can't do anything, and he's just stuck.
That's it. Illest crowning himself the new king of Lazy Lakes. On the other hand, though, Booga's going to get into the box on Reverse 2K. We've already seen Reverse 2K go down once this time, and he's going to go down again. And it's not looking good. Game 1, Game 2 out of the window now for Reverse. And Booga finally secures himself some points. That's going to be one that he's going to desperately need because his Game 1 was nothing impressive either.
And Reverse, someone who has been performing really, really well recently. Obviously, he had his kind of rise to prominence around World Cup, qualified for solos, had that legendary duo run with Ninja, almost managing to qualify. And since then, kind of, I feel like had a bit of a slump in between, didn't hear too much, but recently was a player that I had high expectations for, performing so well in solos and trios. And he goes down again, unfortunately. Not sure what's going on there. He reacted well, though. Booga had the crash pad, fell in through the roof. We've seen so much. Reverse managed to turn around and put the stare on his head to block it. So reacted well, but just, Kanata falls to Ronaldo. No, you know Ronaldo's screaming about that one. You know how good that must have felt for Ronaldo. Whether it feels good or bad taking down a friend, but Kanata goes down in Game 2, and I don't think Kanata has many points on the board. We saw him go down early in Game 1 as well. Ronaldo is definitely shouting about that one right now.
That's right. We'll be seeing you on the battle bus, buddy. But Ronaldo, man, one of the more exciting players I'm happy to see performing right now. It's his dream, basically, to continue to put up. And all he wants to do this time around is place. He wants to place high as well. And he is on track to do just that. Someone else is on track to do big things here. Smack. Smack's been finding his fair share of early game eliminations. And we talk early because NA East in specific is just not the region to really ramp up, right? They're known to have that slower, more passive play.
Yeah.
This second game, though, it looks like players are finding their confidence. Players are not trying to fall behind. They're not trying to leave it for the later half. They're really getting into the action right now. Here's A1 Sid going as far as taking the zone fights right now. And I don't think this player knows that he's in the bush.
Yeah, I think Sid would have taken the shots there, but maybe waiting for a better opportunity. Could have taken it, but he's got a very loud audio cue. That Pepper does make a loud audio cue, and so does that Bush. I feel like he's not going to get a better opportunity in the shots he just had, so playing a little bit passive here, not wanting to take the shots. Frat knows he's nearby, and he's too scared to move. Maybe Sid waiting for him to go in front so he can come in from behind, because he does have that Pepper for the increased movement, but no! Sid, he jumps down, Frat jumps into the bush, knows Sid's there, and Sid picks up the elimination. He gets the minis back as well, but I'm looking at the materials monster, I'm looking at the zone, I'm looking at everything. I don't know if that fight was worth it.
And that's the thing, right? These storm fights, they hold a lot of ramifications if you do not have those heals. We'll see. We'll be paying a close attention to the zone now, to that feed, that elimination feed, to see how it all plays out. On the other side, though, Polarized this time actually secures Caddy's loot. Remember, Cody got it last game. He got away with it, but he got shut down by Aspect early on. Now Polarized has it. With 10 points already, he's confident coming into this game. And I think this is setting him up for success right now.
He needs a few more rockets, maybe 5 rockets. Not bad, but not fantastic. But that's why when you have the caddy launcher, refreshes are even more important. Getting eliminations where you can go and get the loot, and quite often players carrying those rockets is huge. But he still does have crash pads too, so he can maybe save those rockets just for the rotates and can maybe use the crash pads to get in if he has to go aggressive. But it's Kit's Mythic Charge Shotgun as well. I feel like the Shockwave launcher gets so much attention because it is an item that is just so devastating and is so visually exciting when it kind of just creates these big moments. But Polarized, obviously showing the strength of the shotgun. He's backing himself. He's going straight up on this player's box. He doesn't technically need this fight, showing how confident he is to take it though. This player's pushing away, and maybe Polarized, sensing that he's a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, might be someone he might want to fight because he's trying to disengage. He really doesn't want to have a bar of this, but never mind. Polarized going to disengage past it, choosing the fact that he needs to farm up some materials. Only has 39 builds so far.
And this is what I was talking about. Game 1 had the fewest eliminations before the 3rd zone this weekend. EU notably ramps up. They go crazy with it. But NA East has that history. They're always playing a lot slower. I think this game 2, though, might be looking to set up the stage a little differently. We're seeing a lot of action from players like Polarized with the confidence, coming in hot with it. Here comes the classic crash pad. He goes on in, he follows up, he finds the big crack. It's onto Rocks, and they exchange back and forth, and no! Polarized falls, and Rocks is going to be the king of Kit's mythic loot.
And that is so unfortunate for Polarized. He picked the target that he could jump in on. And I was going to say, Rox must have a heavy tac shotgun because he hit him for, I think, close to max damage. So with the change to shotguns now, tactical shotgun is impossible to be able to do 200 damage no matter how good your shot. But he did close to it twice in a row and he falls. You can't. If you get Caddy's loot, if you are the one who's in the driver's seat, you are in the king's seat, you need to be able to continue that dominance forward, and takes one fight that he does not win. And that's it. Now Rox has such a good position to have a big game here. Don't know if he was carrying extra rockets. I think he was. So really, really good position for Rox. Really, really poor fight for Polarized. Oh no.
Things are going to catch up here, though. King looks like he found a big opportunity to slip in a couple shots here. And now he's going to be looking to engage onto this battle. It's Macwood, though. They're going to take this one into the storm. This is going to be an important one to commit to. You got to get it over with here and now. He's only got 2 chug splashes. Yes, he goes on in, and oh my gosh, Macwood nearly bails himself out of that sticky situation. The tactical shotgun versus the charge. It's so interesting to see them go down in the boxes because it's a matter of who catches the bigger opening shot. If you miss that charge, it's over. The tactical wins every single time.
Every single time. And Sundown was talking about it in the pre-show. There's a lot of pressure on Macwood today. He said it out there. He stated he is going for the highest earnings in NA East in online tournaments, with Zexo, one of the players he's trying to overtake, not being here in the finals. But Zexo, watching from home, I guarantee is going to be smiling at that one. They are teammates. They are friends, but still he put a little bit of beef on the line, and there it is. Vibifiers takes down Binky, who we saw Vibe go down last game, and Clicks picks up an elimination in the feed as well.
That's right. He took out COD Genesis there. And here's E11 Daxter sitting on the storm line right now, just hiding out, looking up, trying to make sure that everything's A-okay. He's got Starving Boxer right up above him, hanging, sitting low. On the other side of things, though, P-God coming straight and direct out of Holly Hedges. P-God with some of the most active elims for NA East early on in that last game. He fell on that rotating zone coming into that mid game. He only picked up 7 points. This game drastically different than the last. No elims, and finally placement point gets divvied out there. 75 players down. Storm Surge is also active. He's finally going to find some. Makes me eat my words there. Okay, put one on the board for P-God. Can he get 2 now?
His AR aim is clinical. I was going to say as well, Stretch going down in the feed before top 75, not even getting the first placement points. So there's some big names going out here. And P-God really wants to push this loot. He's using all his crash pads to get to it. Maybe identified the player had crash pads. He did. So he's going to jump on those, grab the material, and refresh the crash pads up. So really nice play from P-God. And his AR aim today, his long range aim has been clinical. As we saw in that wide shot as well, that Blake, our first place contender right now, who won the first game on top of Clicks, both dropping out of Pleasant. So they're nearby. They have eyes on this. So they're going to be taking some shots pretty soon if they see this fight break out. P-God getting broken out, dropping down a little bit lower, but he still has 4 crash pads and the launch pad to make this next rotate. And there's not that many people on this edge, but as he gets closer to the next zone, there's a lot of people in the way. And this is Calc that's ahead of him. So a very aggressive, very strong mechanical player who could hold him out. But never mind, Calc lets him go, and I imagine Calc goes out and recycles that launch pad. He does, and now they both make it to zone safely.
I just wanted to break that down just a little bit further. That was a great fight to take. I know ideally you don't want to rotate out to the outer edges, but he had the short zone rotate already in his favor. That means that he was going to get to that next safety zone a lot sooner than a whole bunch of the other players. So much less pressure. I think it was worth going for all that loot at the expense of the launch pad because he completely capped off on his material now as well. This is going to be the second game, though, Aussie, back-to-back, where it's slowly but surely closing around this weeping section of the map. That means all the trees, all the line of sights that are going to block out, it's not going to be as important right now to hold a launch pad, right? They're harder to use here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very hard, especially the crash pads as well. Crash pads will break the immediate buildings around you, but they will not break the tree if you fly up into it, which can cause a lot of issues. So yeah, blocks a lot of sidelines, like you said, though. So you can make smart rotates, kind of use those trees to hide, or you can kind of use a lot of your wood and use a lot of your resources to build walls and then refarm it back up. But we're getting two very similar zones, so you got to think about which areas this kind of favors. Those players that are dropping, maybe Fortilla like Dubs, as Nobu Tragics falls to Jark, his first elimination of the game, and Jark having a really nice loadout. We haven't seen the floppers be too prominent in this current season, in this current meta, but Ronaldo last game I saw him in Storm popping a few, so they can definitely be used to pick up a few more placement points. And Jark has a good loadout right next to Tabs as well, set up on a really good side of Storm. And Illust and Berserk also over here. Zentil though going down game 1 to the headshot sniper, now has no shield, so he needs to do something to pick up his games quick.
That's right. And this is going to be it now. We talk about those trees blocking all the line of sights. It's hard for him now to actually evaluate, right? It's hard for him to read this. He's got to cross through all the players here. And there it is. Some crash pads are going to go out, so this might be a free opportunity for him to get a free rotate. But no, the opponent was actually looking to hop in on him. And oh my gosh, he's going to get hit with a hunting rifle shot from the eastern portion. And no, he gets hit again. It's Nanolite. Man, Nanolite with the downrange tags here. Just looking into the action, Berserker's going to hop on top of all of that loot, and that means that's going to be his crash pads, his shields. That's going to be massive for him right now to at least keep him in the game here. On the other side, though, we're hopping over. Jack still in the low ground. I see Ronaldo still in this game as well. Jeltzy still in this game, too.
Some big names. I believe I just saw Calc take down Lunez for the second time in 2 games. I swear he took him down game 1 as well. So obviously those two players finding each other quite often, maybe similar rotates, as I'm seeing a lot of players who are dropping the same area ending up together. Clicks and Blake have been rotating very close together as well. We saw Stretched and Booger game 1. So a lot of these big names are dropping similar drops, and they're running into each other a lot. And they're having those big key interactions as Nexi trying to put that burst AR to use, as he's got more than enough ammo to take some shots. And he has that rotation. There it is. Finds Keox and the Harpoon, which with all the items we've seen at the moment, with the crash pads, with the peppers, with extra meds, not a lot of players carrying the Harpoons anymore, as he's just struggling to grab that extra loot. And there it is. Finds that benefit of the massive material boost. 109 builds left now, and the 4 floppers, so he can swap out the Harpoon for those floppers. That was a really, really good investment there to carry that.
And here's the thing, if you guys watched Tayson's FNCS Invitational victory from the EU region, he banked on having a Harpoon and taking that through to the victory royale in the solo setting specifically. Solos, Harpoon is so good when you're in solos because you are allowed to refresh yourself. We're seeing that now 2 games back to back, even in Spike's loadout here. So I feel like we're seeing a nice classic shift in the loadouts and how things are going to work out. But Spike's in a world of trouble right now. He pulls half in, half out, but he also pulls his lobby's focus. And oh my gosh, the bailout, the get out of jail free card right there. He's going to land the big charge shot, and he's still in the game now.
Still in the game. You see those Harpoons ringing out, so I think he lost a lot of the loot that he would have gained from that one, but he is still alive. He does still have those crash pads, so fully expect Spike, when he finds someone here on a wall, to maybe go aggressive and try and get in and get that refresh. And now, on the complete other side of things, looks like a completely different game. We have Skittles just set up in a nice breezy area, pretty far to rotate. There's quite a few people in front of them and around them, as Ronaldo and Rox also over here. And remember, Rox does have his hands on that Mythic Charge Shotgun and the Mythic Shockwave launch, so someone I'm expecting to shape up this lobby as Crip gets shaped out of the lobby and Skittles gets the elimination. Still 4 people to go down, Monster, until we even get our second placement point. NA East is playing out so slow and so steady, just going for that consistency with the placement. As Jark, I don't think he does. He spots the launch pad and he's going to go up and try and recycle it, as everyone making their way to this half-half, which is already so congested. They're building a mini city here. Everyone trying to just find their spot, find their places. People are taking walls, taking fights, crash padding in. AJ finding this play on the back foot. SF on the back foot with 2 players on both of his walls. It is absolute pandemonium here, Monster.
It's looking like we're going to be shaping out to create a new top 10 right now. One of the few players I saw up there, though, Ronaldo was still in this game. Keep an eye on players like Coop, who was third on the leaderboard, on the standings when we came into this. Blake's still in this game as well. So our top 3 still holding strong, gathering points, accumulating points right now, trying to hold on to the lead. They're not making it easy for the new competitors trying to step up and take this away. But it's Sid, though, with 4 points right now, who's getting active in the mid-game. He needs it, too. 8 builds his name. That means 80 material, guys. He can't get too far with that, even with the crash pads to rotate across. Okay, he's looking to set it up, though. He's trying to find anything he can. There's a little edit there, though, so he knows there was a player nearby. What is he going to do? He waits. Someone's in front of him. Okay, though.
Might have
Backs
to
up
pull
now,
out the
and
crash
yes.
pad. Oh, he hits it. He goes up into the sky, though. Unfortunately, the harpoon, though, he goes to
landed
harpoon
that.
the wall, and the player
my
innocent.
God.
So he lands the harpoon stow, opening up the wall at the absolute worst timing. Sid
Max
gets
material.
the harpoon shot, and that's the mat refresh. That's what you have to watch for. Those players that have not much left, they need to have that aggressive play. They need to get something, and they claw their way back into it as Dubs hits the sky in top 10. Bully, I'm seeing Jark, so many big names still in this, but you talked about earlier, Monster, the trees. They're trying to land, but the trees are blocking them as Clicks is now making his way up onto high ground in a beautiful position. Ronaldo making his way through. P-God, Bucky, this is going to be our who's who endgame, and it's going to break down fast.
And because of those trees, and now a vertical city has been created right beyond that landscape there. We'll see how that's going to handle this lobby here, how it's going to create the layer congestion. But moving forward, though, Coop still looking for some action in the low ground. He's facing his way back to the storm. I love what he's doing right now. He still has to cross, though. So he's got a lot of seconds before the clock's going to continue to push here. Those crash pads are going to be put to use by other players. They're going to recycle them. Coop sitting a little too long back here, though. Now comes the pressure of the storm. He jumps in for the loot. Yes, he needs it desperately. And no, he gets caught on the back line. With the floppers, though, he's going to be able to sit in zone for a couple more seconds. Will he have enough to get out, though? Now it's going to be the key opportunity for him to hopefully find a frag here when he needs it most. Rotating his way in. Barely any materials. Just 40 left now. This is it. Things are getting cooking here, and yes, he's going to find one. It's on to Skittles now, and that's going to be just enough. He's going to have to edit his way out. We're going to be catching up soon, though. There's 25 players in the lobby right now. That's another placement that's going to be getting out. It's going to be on to King there, Ozzy. It's still going.
No.
These are a lot of points. Oh, my gosh, the flick.
Coop fights his way back into it. I was going to say the Siphon came in a millisecond on time. He went down to 50 health in Storm, which means he just got the Siphon before the next tick went through. So Coop going down, but a phenomenal performance back against the wall to pick up, I think, 3 or 4 eliminations as D-Roller already having 3 on the board as well, pushing forward. He's got the cabbages, got 11 builds, so a bit more than we saw what he does. He jumps down, finds the elimination, and then we see Aegis take down Booger as well. D-Roller just making his way through this one, trying to roll through the lobby like Monster alluded to earlier as Dubs goes down. So I've seen a lot of players go down who are in this top 10 scenario. D-Roller just set up in his box. He's got the cabbages. He has 2 crash pads. I don't know if he's going to go for Hype Monster or if he's going to go into a box.
That is true, and you saw P-God there as well, still getting points, but yes, the shockwave goes out. Hold up, though. Clicks is battling up for height right now against Kaz, and I think Clicks has got it, but no, now it's going to be a battle of who can hold it. You see the builds there. Someone's trying to hold on to height. It's D-Roller. He's manages to make his way all the way up to the top, and he's got the biggest refresher you could ask for. 900 medium ammunition, heals to go with it, and some materials as well. This could be his game, and this could be a monster game. There's less than 10 people left in a lobby, though, and he already has 4 eliminations. Can he make it 5 here, Ozzy? He's looking for anything. He is desperate to take home this victory, to prove to the rest of the community here at the NA East region that he is someone to be feared. On the low ground, though, Clicks has got a lot to prove as well. The bailout, the second point there, the follow-up elimination, and he still has a refresher too. So he has just enough mats, though. He's going to keep it going. Great layer change here.
Farms down the tree to get those extra builds, and D-Roller has to make something here. If you have this loadout, if you have high ground, you've been given everything. You need to prove that you are here for a reason, that you can close out games like this as there's 3 players alive. Clicks falls to Class. D-Roller making his way down. 5 builds left. The 1v1, Nobu Divine. We've seen it so many times before. D-Roller jumping his way down. We get the wide to see what we missed as Class takes down Clicks, and there it is. D-Roller taking down Nobu Divine. He falls there. The shockwave launcher does come out on top. We're going to have the analyst to break down what we missed just there, because that was a ridiculous endgame.
That's right. He did it well. He did it textbook. He held that high ground and walked it through to the end of the game. Although he didn't catch a lot of eliminations, he still did a fair job finding some of the points that he needed there. We're going to be shooting it on over to the boys at the desk to break down the action. So do me the favor, Zeke, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Monster, for that. Game number 2 here in NA East. A little bit different, a little bit picking up the pace. We're slowly getting there. We're warming up. You know, it's all good, all good. They're waiting. They're like, hey, Zeke, just hold on. This isn't it yet. Just be patient, buddy. I'm like, all right, I got you. Don't worry. Great game there, though, coming out of DeRoller, finding himself that victory royale. Now, the question is, what do these standings look like? Coming out of this last game, we do know that Blake did get the victory royale last game. The question of the day is, does he hold on, though? Let's take a look together. Sundown, break this down for us.
So I think the biggest thing to note here is, what does the pace look like? Right now, with 2 games played, first place is averaging 13 points, and that's because Blake, falling at 46 there, is going to really limit his potential push-up. He was only able to secure himself 3 points coming through. Now, the thing to note is who is able to really rocket themselves up because of that performance. DeRoller, obviously, with that victory royale going through, but also Kaz and Jelty pushing themselves up into 5th and 6th and taking advantage of the fact that Blake went down so early. Some other familiar names on there. Illis, who did really well during the qualifiers, except who had a strong Heat performance yesterday, and then the veterans, FaZe Dubs and Class, rounding it out in 9th and 10th, and doing it on the back of a placement style, with both only holding 2 eliminations.
The other thing I want to point out on the top of this page right here is Coop in 2nd place. You saw how he clutched up in that game. You saw how he had pretty much no chance of staying alive, and he still did it and got 1 more elim before he went down to push himself even further out. That will matter as time goes on. There in 12th place is Divine, the 2nd place performer in that game, and he got 5 elims in that one too, tied with what DeRoller did. But I wanted to note in that game how many people got eliminations. It was pretty much the entire lobby taking each other out, elimination after elimination, not giving the chance for DeRoller at the top to really, really take advantage of that opportunity that you mentioned, Sundown.
Now we roll on over to the next page here. You can see A1 Sid 21st, Crunchy, Vanish Bully, Runons, Cozy's, Clicks in 26 with only 2 eliminations, but that signal means he has 10 placement points. He's making it into those top 25 thresholds. If he's able to convert on any one of those, he has the potential to really rocket himself up the leaderboard. And honestly, I think your point, Bala, when talking about how so many different players are getting eliminations, is what kind of feeds into Zeke's point, where it feels like it's not necessarily as exciting. That's because all that excitement is being spread across 5 or 6 different players who are picking up either 4 to 6 eliminations, rather than them all funneling into that 1, 9, 10, maybe 11 or 12 elimination performance that we saw out of Tayson earlier. But the effect it has on the leaderboard is, all of a sudden, if somebody doesn't have that huge game, it's whoop, everybody's that much closer.
And that's what the Vanish Boys did take advantage of, right? Kaz and both DeRoller, they've suddenly come out of nowhere, right? With these, everyone at the top eliminating each other, say, okay, you created this opportunity for us, we will take advantage of it.
And that's kind of the story of DeRoller too. Like, back in the Invitational, he won that one day before we went to the Grand Finals, and I was asking myself, where did this guy come from? And he's showing that that wasn't necessarily a fluke. We're going to take a look at what happened in this one. Blake started off a little decent in this one, but like you said, Sundown, opportunities were all of a sudden given.
Yeah, and he fell over there. You can see DeRoller getting a key elimination there right on the placement threshold, going to push himself over. And we talked about picking up key ones on the edge. That's eliminating Calc as he's rotating into zone, and it gave him priority spacing and enough materials to be able to convert over. He picks up Ronaldo there as well. So DeRoller really running through some high-level players he's used to seeing in the endgame. And then once you get here, he's so good at executing in those final moments and turning it into a lead. But his org mate Kaz also able to find some huge picks. He was playing this mid-ground situation with that charged shotgun. I mean, that reaction shot there on the Daxter was huge.
And it was. No look for more through the windows. This is what these guys are so good at, no matter the situation, always still looking for the opportunity to get the consistent points out of elims that you can find in the end game. Something you're not used to is how easy it is to get endgame eliminations, when you play normal games. But when there's this much congestion in a tight space, you see players like Jelty be able to put people in uncomfortable situations. That's Dubs, one of the best solo players in the world, and he gets put down by Jelty because he's back against the wall.
Buena suerte, vamos, Jelty, one of our Latin American players who's been so absurdly consistent in terms of making it into the end game, and I'm excited that he was able to get a number of eliminations there because his ability to make it in the top 20 time and time again, he has such a high percentage of conversion rate on that if he's able to start getting these eliminations, he could push into potentially challenging for that top spot.
Man, this is the question, right? With 4 games left, who can do that? Who will do that? As a reminder, in EU, we thought it was all set, and in Game 5, everything was turned on its head. That could still happen. That still has the opportunity. It's not over until that last game is played, and we can take a look at the final results. Now, guys, we are getting ready to hop back into game. If you are tuning in, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is Grand Finals here in the FNCS. We're in NA East. We've got 4 games left to go. EU happened earlier. It's been an incredible day. With that being said, though, it is time to jump out of the battle bus yet again. So let's send it over to our casters, Monster D-Face and Aussie Antics, to give us the eyes in the sky.
There you guys have it. You heard it from the best of the best. We're hopping back in to the FNCS Grand Finals NA East game number 3. It's Monster D-Face, Aussie Antics here on the horn to deliver the action. And the question here, Aussie, is can D-Roller, who's had a taste of success, that first place, hold it through? Because the last time he was in a Grand Finals setting, he fell short, coming 44th place during the FNCS Invitationals. But this time, he's in first place after 2 games. I don't know. Can he do it?
He's doing it. I think he can. He's doing really well. His placement timing is great. He's just making those extra little placement thresholds, because if you look at him and Coop broken down on the leaderboard together, you'd actually imagine that Coop would be higher, right? Except for that one win. D-Roller clutched up the win and showed that he has it in the back pocket. So I think he's playing phenomenal. You said he's got a lot here to prove, and that's the thing. We've talked about it time and time again today. Once you jump up, you make yourself the target. Everyone's looking for you. Everyone knows you now, and D-Roller has been the target before in FNCS Invitationals. Can he do it in the next solo FNCS now? Can he have the consistency as Polarized takes down Keox in the feed, which I have to think means Keox has changed the drop spot and gone Caddy, because I was going to say when we saw that map, I saw a few extra eyes on Caddy that weren't there last time.
That's right. Players trying to step it up and take the action into their own hands. Here's the thing, though. I want to set the stage up. Players that I'm looking out for that are scary, consistent, and they're doing it today already. It's players like Dubs, who already pulled a top 5 and a near top 10. Players like Jelty, who are doing the same as well, just shy top 10 2 games in a row. And players like Azers, that consistency. We know that over the marathon, that is the 6 games, that mental fortitude, having great games, even if they're not wins or big pop-offs, just making endgame and knowing your formula works is going to be able to give you the confidence to surge you through after the 6. So keep an eye out on those guys, because they have been the most consistent and the least volatile so far. I mean, if you've been watching throughout the qualifiers, we all know Dubs has some of the best placement that this scene has to offer. So he is a pioneer of rotates and making endgames. We'll see, though, as the competition continues here, because this is still game number 3 and things are just getting started for us.
Yeah, and you got to look at some of their drop spots as well. So obviously Dubs coming out of Fortilla, which means if he can get into that vault, he has a guaranteed launch pad, but it also means that he's walking away with consistently good loot. Some of these players having good games out of more shamble pass have to rely on luck a little bit more. Do you find a few stacks of minis? Do you find the big pot? Do you find what you need? Where Dubs is coming out of Fortilla every single game with what he needs. And because of the water and because of the guys in that area, the rotation paths are a lot easier too. So you're looking at players like that to be very consistent, to start racking up some of these placement points. We touched on it last game as well, but you have the placements on the right here. A victory royale being worth 14 points, and then each one of those thresholds will net you an extra point as well. So those are combined with eliminations being 1. So you get your first points when you get inside top 75, top 50, and then so on, as you can see from this graphic. But that win, 14 points, and we see Zolaf getting some really big shots onto ult. Not sure what happened there, but he also fishes up the legendary tac shotgun. So big swing from Zolaf there within 2 seconds. His game is looking very good and very different.
Listen, I was hyped that he pulled a legendary shotgun out the water, and then to be rewarded with the Elam right there. My gosh, talk about a nice game for Zoloft to kick things off. Not so nice game for Altu. We'll have to figure out what happened there. But regardless, though, on the other perspective, Bugha, who had a decent game 2, he went from 1 point coming out of game 1 to securing 9 points in game 2. That is huge. That's massive. At the start of the show, Ozzy, we spoke about the fact that you need anywhere from like 8 to 10 to be the champ on average. Bugha's closing that gap now, right? If he can have a good game 3, that's setting himself up for the great halfway mark.
I still can't believe how ridiculous that is. When we talk about a win being worth 14 points, and you have to average around 10 just to win an FNCS in one of these regions, and you're doing it against the best of the best, it is incredible, and Bugha has shown that he can do it. Obviously, your solo World Cup winner, still holding on to that mantle, still holding on to his skill, and showing that he is one of the best solo players here. He almost won one of the qualifying weeks, showing that he can still do it and perform on the day. The zone so far, he did that out of a different drop, though. He did that out of Rickety Rig, and now he's switched it up to Misty, but still, Misty being a very strong drop. So far, him and Stretch having each side of Misty and being relatively safe. I've seen them taking a few tags, but they're not launching full-on assaults, and they're both playing well. As Blake, another person who has another scary name with him at his drop, Clicks over here, who I believe is the one who's probably taking shots onto him, and he's only got 3 minis and a whole spot free. So these are the kind of players I'm talking about who are going those more shamble loot paths. I know Pleasant Park might not sound shambles, but when you've got another person there and you've got another people getting all the loot before you rotate, he's walking out with not that much.
Yeah, more importantly, if he gets jammed up on any of these rotates and gets tagged like this, that's where you start to fall behind quickly, because look, he's already down another mini now being tagged from an AR from that distance. And just like that, you suddenly and slowly fall behind. You lose that early game lead that you were starting to build up. Blake, he kind of fizzled out that last game. He put 21 minutes into the second game to only secure about 3 points. He fell at 46 points, or 46th place, with only 1 elimination. And that's after coming after the Victory Royale with 6 elims. So he's a bit volatile right now. That halfway mark, and oh my gosh, as I speak about volatility, he falls to a headshot snipe from Stowe here. Massive.
Yeah. We talk about it. We talk about 6-game formats. We talk about how mentally grueling this is, the amount of pressure, the amount of time put into this, and then your game 3 gets ended within a millisecond like that. He falls, Blake goes down, all that loot goes over to Stowe, and now Blake has to sit back and spend 20 to 30 minutes watching, thinking about what he could have done differently, when honestly it is so hard to think what you should have done when it comes down to a headshot snipe. But at the end of the day, the rotates can be different, the builds can be different, but Blake is going to be very upset with that one, and he has to bounce back. He has to keep his mental in check, because he's still on pace. We talked about it. 10 points every game is what you need to win this one. He's on 30, and this is game 3. So if he keeps up the consistency, he will be okay. But unfortunately, Blake picking up game 1 win, the last 2 games not going as great for him.
And that's the rough part, right? Proving yourself, proving to the community that you're not just a team-based game player. Like, you can do it as a solo. He has yet to actually prove that. Even with the strong starts, we've seen him come out the gate swinging and then continue to fall. It just seems like that is how his history has been written time and time again. But don't worry, we still have half a competition in front of us. This is only game 3, and it is just kicking up, ladies and gentlemen. But okay, Clicks has high ground. He's got the mountain on check. It looks like he's probably even put some tags down, so he might be chilling as far as the Storm Surge goes. On the other side, though, here's FaZe Dubs taking it up with Azures. I gave FaZe Dubs a lot of credit at the start of this, talking about his consistency to make it through to endgame, and he's already engaging onto a mid-game fight, or early game fight, with the player that's in top 4. So this is 2 top 10 players, potentially, holding out one another here in the Storm line.
Yeah, and he has to make this rotate, but again, it's that loot. Look at, he takes the tags, but he's got the minis, he's got the bigs, he's got 6 crash pads and the launch pad. A lot of these tournaments are decided from the drop, but you have to have respect on your name. You need to have people respect you enough to not want to drop with you. Dubs, obviously having done that, one of the most decorated competitive players in history, a World Cup player. He is phenomenal, and he's holding down Fortilla right now, getting the loot and getting out. He's late into this rotate. He's got the crash pads if he wants to use them. I hope he'll be able to hold on to them, as we now see SF. I'm not entirely sure which member of SF this is. Monster, if you know, let me know, but he's out here at the fish farm, and I think this addition to the game is super underrated. Look at the amount of fish he's able to gather here at this spot.
He's not holding them, not just yet, though. He's got one more shot left in a harpoon. Let's see what he's going to be able to kind of fish up here, and that one elimination is going to be a big frag. You can see he's sitting on quite a pool of loot here. The excess material inside the box, the excess of floppers sitting on the dock here. Now that he has zone, though, this
Slurpfish.
might work for him. Yeah, he's got so much to choose
He can
from
hold
here.
this down. He's got all the loot in the world. He can kind of just box around this, maybe hold it and come back for it if he needs it. It's just, I haven't really seen this drop spot having too much strength, but I feel like it is such a powerful one. But I guess at the same time, you are very exposed. You need to get your weaponry around here as well. And looks like he has a good rotate, so someone to look out for. And you talked about it, people you're looking out for, Monster. I'm really looking out for Coop right now on the feed. Last game was very impressive. He was backed against the wall with low mats, pressure on him, and he performed really well. And Coop is known for that, being a very aggressive controller player who can really back himself in those scrappy end games. But I want to see if he then has the kind of the rotates and the ability to be consistent and avoid those scrappy situations, because no matter how good you are in them, it's players like Dubs who can avoid having to be shambles that are always going to come out on top in these 6-round tournaments.
I do agree with you. Coop is on a nice little streak right now, but SF looking to get the beans down in the shots, and yes, he's going to find every single one he needs. It's going to be on to XX Shark. And I do want to give a shout out to Shark as well, someone who only played one of the qualifiers and pulled himself into the grand finals. So although he didn't put as much effort possibly as these other players, he still stepped up to the plate when it matters most and brought himself to the table this far. Who knows though, maybe that lack of preparation, that lack of seriousness is one of the reasons he isn't finding success today, but he's still such an exciting player to look out for. On the other side, another exciting player is Tabs. He's fighting another Titan here. I believe it's Avery on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, this is going to be a big engagement. As Tabs goes out, he tries to use that stair to kind of crash pad up towards height, but unfortunately messes it up, kind of just pushes him back into his box as Tabs has to rethink how he's going to play this, because he needs this elimination. He has no shield. If this turns into a long drawn-out fight, if Avery gets a few tags on him to open this one up, it's only going to go worse and worse for Tabs. We've seen Colazo, his duo mate, doing quite well here today after game 2 was up there. I think had a good game 1, shaky game 2, but Tabs trying to make something of this one. He's kind of revealed his play though. He messed up that crash pad, and now Avery knows he's probably going for it. And the issue with those crash pads, as good as they are, if you go for high ground and you have predictable movement and your opponent has a good shotgun, they can really line up a nice shot on you as Tabs deciding this is a fight that he doesn't want to take. But I don't think his opponent is doing the same thought process. He wants this one as well. He knows the Tabs is desperate. He can sense it.
No, he's fighting up against Avery. Avery's gotten his taste of being an FNCS champion as well, so you got to be careful with someone like Avery who's got the confidence in his pocket, the experience to back it up here on the biggest stages, on the biggest final days. Not everyone can speak like that, and that's going to be a shield crack. You know it's the green light, but oh my gosh, Avery walks into a monstrous charge shot from the response to Tabs, and yes, there it is, the follow-up, the big shot from the air, in the sky, the quick drop kick there. That's going to be the point, the siphon, everything Tabs is going to need to keep him in the game now.
Yeah, I talked about it. When you're in the sky and you're in the crash pad, it's predictable movement and you can charge up a shot, but I didn't think it would swing the other way. Tabs managed to pick that one up, and Who Fishy, someone that has been performing very well, Monster, who I don't think we've seen anything of today, so hopefully looking to have a big game 3. Needs to pick up the pace. It looks like he's doing that. He's making his way to the top, so 11 points, not bad. Doing well with a few good games. He could jump up there, but he's on the back foot now. There's 2 players in front of him trying to get some damage down, and Who Fishy steps forward into it, and he falls, though. You talked about a Monster charge versus tack. Even if you get a heavy charge shot, the extra fire rate on the tack, you can get off 2 shots with the tactical shotgun for every 1 of the charge, and that's what brings DGen out on top here, on top of Hypnos, and that's his high ground. And Who Fishy back to the lobby now on, I think it was 11 points.
Absolutely, and I was just about to start priding all the new names and faces that are breaking into the top 10, because we don't see a lot of the star veteran players up there, right? Your favorites. They're not there. This top 10 is looking totally new. It's looking fresh. It's the up-and-comers who are really thriving today. And you can see it just like that right here. Players like Class are looking to put up. I think of the only players in the top 10, it was like Dubs, right? One of the bigger names. But we'll see as this competition continues out. Who Fishy is one of the more exciting, new, rising stars on the scene. 11 points, not too shabby. That was about top 30, but to fall, that is a rough one. That's a tough pill to swallow. On the other hand, though, Jeltzy really firing up here. He's looking pretty good. 2 eliminations. My gosh. The Latin community must be proud. They are bringing some of the most exciting engagements that we've seen throughout any of the regions so far. As a community as a whole, I feel like the way France loves the, shows love for them in the EU region, the French community, it's the same for the Latin community here on NA East. They bring all of the excitement. They've been continuing to do that throughout the last few days here of the tournaments. But now, on the other hand, Skill's trying to rotate out the zone.
He's trying to hit the rotate in the boat, and he's got some speed, but he is far from stalled.